I'm Device from Astralis, and welcome to FalleN's YouTube channel. It's a choke-free zone.
Right, when you referred to it already, that epic semi-final against Team Liquid when they had Simple standing in at MLG Columbus, right, this match is obviously so famous, like, yes, for that jumping AWP shot, but also because Liquid was twice in these scenarios where they were like, I think it was like 15-9, 15-6, they were in these big leads, and the key detail people always forget when they tell this story is that Liquid was on the T side when they got to these map round map point rather. And to me, that's the most key part, because it's one thing if you just lose a game and say it was like a close game, but there's only 2 extra rounds, 15-13. If you're on a CT side, again, you don't control the game as much. But if you're on the T side, I mean, if I put you in that situation and you lose 15-9, 15-6 from the T side, to some degree, part of that's on Team Liquid, right? Some of that is a throw. Like you guys can do your best on the CT side, but they have a big part to do with losing that game, right?
Yeah, they definitely had, and I can even mention you some examples. So first, the Mirage game, I think it was about morale after the coldzera shot and after how this round went, and it was I created on that specific round, after that specific match, a different setup that's been used nowadays till now, which is basically retaking A, but putting more focus into ladder. So basically, we created a setup, a CT, that we never used before. And on that time specifically, teams were starting this coach process. People were studying a lot of what other teams would be doing. So when I came up with a different setup, a CT that we never used before, they just didn't have the answer for that. They were not understanding what was happening. They would go B, and then they would kill 2 players, and there was a third there. They just tried to go mid to go catwalk. 1 player would trade, and there's a second one getting 2 kills. They would go away. I was playing passive, but I would get 1 kill, would retake. So, we created a setup on that game that made us win the Mirage game. So that's period. With coldzera round, and we changed the setup like that, we were able to close all the rounds. And of course, in some extent, you can say Liquid failed, but there is a point why they failed. They didn't know what we're doing because we never did that before. And we just created that on the fly during the match. So it's kind of understandable that they didn't have the answer for that. And I don't think any of their players were able to really win a round by themselves, like going 2 kills or 3 kills and really deciding the match. So that's how we came back into the game. And then we go to the cash match, which was pretty lost. And I'm going to be honest, when it was 14-6 or something like that, I thought myself the game was over. I was like, we can't come back again. I thought myself that this is over. But then one specific moment that we're never going to forget is when they went B, they got the first kill. All right, so 15 rounds, they went B, got the first kill, they had the bomb site. So it's a 5v4 situation. We had to retake B on a 15-6 match or 15-5 match or something like that. And then, simple mistake was to try to lurk mid. Instead of waiting for us to go mid and do the retake, he would try to kill us mid. So that's when we boosted our self-confidence again and say, this guy is choking. He doesn't know what he's doing. During the match, we say that. Why is he trying to kill us mid? Why the match is over? So we won that retake, and then magic stuff starts happening again. Taco gets a auto gun, auto sniper, and he starts getting 2 or 3 kills there. We start winning rounds that we're not losing, and that's when I think they start choking. Then they start performing way below what they were performing during the match, and that's why we come back into the second game as well. So that's why I say I think Simple became a much better player lately, but those kind of risks he put himself and the team to this kind of risks, it's something that wouldn't be worth to have him on the team. I don't think it's the case anymore. I think he's a way better teammate as on these aspects nowadays. But those kind of mistakes, even if he was a great player, it's just not acceptable to win tournaments.
In the final, when you were facing Na'Vi, did that still have a special significance? I know you'd already beaten them at this point in time and you'd gone back and forwards. You beat them at IEM, they beat you at Leipzig, you beat them at the Star Series. You'd had some wins against them, but was it like a special significance to get to beat Na'Vi in the final of a major to win?
I think it definitely was, because the LG and Na'Vi clash was something outstanding. It was always great matches. And I remember on the start of this confronts, I would lose to Guardian, badly sometimes, even Clutch Napoca. I think there was one half where Guardian make me do 115 score wise. So the game was over 16-14 for them, and I was 115 the first half. There was a second. Then on the second half, there was one round I killed myself to kill him, and I said, "All right, guys, I got him by myself. 4v4 now. It's way better. Trust me." So I managed to kill him one round, and I said, "It's way better for us now. It's fine. 4v4." So it was super difficult to fight Guardian at the early stage. But then I started understanding a little bit better on how he played, how aggressive he was, on which angles he liked to take the most, I was able to predict some of his moves, and then I felt I was bringing the balance a little bit better to my side because I was able to get into his mind, he was starting to understand that he could lose to me as well. And that was important to me on this duel. And there was many LG and Navi duels where the AWPers had outstanding matches. And there was others where coldzera, FaZe, and even FaLen were just huge factors into the matchup. So coming to Navi again, I think it was one of the classic games we love to play. And the way the first map went through was a mirage, and I think we had to come back. It was insane, and the second map was just a run over. I remember, and I still, when I think about the second game, and I think sometimes I try to think about the way I'm playing Overpass nowadays, and one of the most iconic games, of course, is this one against Navi, and I was just able to go to the party and kill people coming A like early in the round. And nowadays, even my teammates say, "Hey, FalleN, where is this FalleN, man? Where is this FalleN?" Who just go there and kill them? And I was like, back on those days, people were not expecting that. Like, they don't even flash mid, they're just coming, and I was just well positioned. And nowadays, I feel if I do the same, they already know it. And there are a lot of flashes, nades, and it's just a different game. And in that specific game, as I said, we felt super good going to the second match. And I feel and I know that they felt super bad at losing the first one. Their confidence was gone. And all those plays started working and working and working. And there was nothing they could do to stop us at that point.
So as I referenced, early on when you were coming back to CSGO and we saw you internationally, you weren't like some superstar AWPer. In fact, sometimes you weren't even AWPing. As you said, you let ZQK do it. When you were an AWPer in this lineup, the good Luminosity that's getting to the final of majors, is a really top team, you had a very unusual style of AWPing, especially if someone tells like someone watching the game, oh, he's the in-game leader as well. It looks like this doesn't make any sense because he was super aggressive. You would be like, even on CT side, you would like push your angle and go really close range. Right? This is a new style. We don't really see this, especially not from an in-game leader. So what's the logic of how you've tried to use the AWP in CSGO?
For me, using the AWP in CSGO mainly on the CT side, where all those aggressions came from, in my opinion, is basically doing the picks that I know it's one free kill is guaranteed. So using positions that it's either I'm going to get a free kill or I'm going to stay alive, right? So, of course, there's some of them that there were risks I could die, but all those kills, they were easier for me because people didn't know my game yet so well. Like, I was creating things that people are not expecting. I was using angles that AWPers wouldn't be using. So, by using stuff like that, people would not strafe there, people would not use nades there, so they would just come in. And that's an easy kill for an AWPer. All you want is someone to be really coming close, trying to fight you with an AK, and that's an easy kill because they really don't predict you there. But nowadays, after being playing for 2 years in the scene and at top level, people are watching me a lot. So every time I come up with something, it doesn't last long. A different angle, a different timing on trying to break a T side, domaining, trying to get map control somewhere. I do it once, people already know it. I might be wrong, I might be fooling myself, but that's the way I kind of feel it. And on very specific matchups against good teams, you can feel that this plays a role. Like, for example, when I play Astralis, it's a very different game because they kind of try to use all those angles I play to be sure they can find a kill on me if I'm using again. So after many and many encounters with a lot of teams and becoming the best team in the world for a couple of times, this changed a lot the way I can use my AWP nowadays. So nowadays, it's a little bit different for me and a little bit more challenging to find those same success because it's nothing. It's hard to find a lot of new stuff to really get people off guard the same way I did before.
What was the significance of winning MLG Columbus? Like, I don't just mean that as in, it's a major and this sort of thing, but like when people hear the backstory of your team, if you're someone who just comes from a normal Western country, it sounds really inspirational. All the stuff where you guys moved to LA and you were like having to share a very small area. Two people are sleeping in one bed because there's not even separate bedrooms. Like when people saw, for example, FaZe crying in that moment, and at the time, a lot of fans didn't know who FaZe is. They don't know what his personality is like. What was the significance for you and for the team to actually win that major?
Yeah, actually, it means so much. At the time when we were leaving that, we actually didn't know how big that was for us, to be honest. Because as you say, like we were sharing beds, we were doing everything it takes to really play at that level. We moved house. But when we were experiencing that, when we were leaving that, you just don't don't realize how big it was. And at the moment, for me, it was something very special because when I was playing for many years in 1.6, I knew I was a good player, but I didn't have the confirmation that I belong to the top. I didn't have the confirmation. Hey, I can play on the same level as guys like Get Right, Forest. Like I can be this kind of player. And 1.6, I never had the chance to become a player like that, even though I played on a good level, but in terms of achievements, never even close. And on CSGO, kind of the same thing. I saw all those tournaments happening, and then at first we didn't even take part of that. So when we won the MLG Major Columbus, for me, it was kind of a statement. I finally got close to where those guys are. Like I finally did something as big as they always did. So for me, it was a big achievement. And the same for my teammates, I'm sure, because of everything you had to go through was something very special. And I think it was the first and only time I saw her crying, to be honest. So just to have a feeling of how special this was for everyone. And if you were following the scene at the time, you'd see as well that everything kind of made sense and everything was aligning to be that way, because we had 2 finals before the tournament. We were very close to win some of those finals. We throw big leads, and I remember after we throw a big lead in Leipzig, I think it was a DreamHack, I don't remember. It was Leipzig in Germany. Yeah, we lost for Lavi 16-14 and 19-15, and both games we did a crucial mistake at the end and lost both maps. And the moment we lost that game, you could feel in the atmosphere of the team that we're not sad. We just say, all right, this one was ours. Next time, no way we lose. So the team spirit kept growing tournament after tournament until on that point on MLG Columbus, we won the major. And the way it happened was awesome too, because we made that comeback against Liquid. And that was something unique. I don't think we ever reproduced something like that many tournaments after that one. So sometimes fate is just there, and that was kind of a fairy tale, and the end was just that one. It was great.
One of the cool things I thought, like you're alluding to here about some of the comebacks and the fact that it was actually a famous trend of the team was to lose the really close games. If it ever got to overtime, obviously the 2 teams that did it to you a lot was Fnatic and Na'Vi. These were the squads where so many times they won overtime or 16-14, right? The bizarre thing is, that was the thing holding you guys back from winning at the time. That's why you didn't have the titles. And if I asked most fans now, what is FalleN and SK, when you were in SK, what was this team most famous for? They're going to say winning close games. They're going to say being the team that does come through when it's 14-14 and wins the big clutch that you need to, So what do you think changed? How does a team go from being someone, I mean, we see it right now with Team Liquid, where they're always the ones who seem to lose in that scenario. And you see with Astralis, it can turn around somehow. So what do you think the secret is there? What changed for you guys?
Basically, I think a team can evolve in 2 ways. First is on the game plan, on the game itself, shooting strategies, getting the points, and that's one you keep improving game after game. And the second way you can improve in the mentality game, right? So you really believe you can win. You really believe you're not going to lose. Doesn't matter what. You can be. I remember on SK games, when we were in our prime, doesn't matter if we're losing 14-5. We know that if we win the next round, we can't come back. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how hard it is. And we know that if they made it 15, we're just going to break their economy and get to a T. And you could feel that everyone is fine to lose, there's no such feeling as fuck, we're losing, we're going to lose this game. That doesn't exist. So what I think it happens to Liquid nowadays, and even you see those guys, it's insane the amount of second place they have, and they're never able to finish a tournament. And there have been tournaments that were closer to me, others not even close, but it just shows that somehow mentality-wise, they're not just ready yet for winning. And there's something blocking them. And I think the best way for them to and that's the way we did it. The best way to go through that is actually winning one. The moment they believe they can do it, it's going to be very tough to stop them, right? But so far, every time they're close, they let it go because the opponents are very good as well. Even when Astralis lost a map on the group stage for Liquid, it seemed like Liquid was on a whole different level and they could read Astralis pretty well. They went to the finals, Astralis did their homework, and they kind of destroyed Liquid, and that showed it apart again. So for us, after losing all those tournaments, in terms of game sense, in terms of playability, we're playing well. We knew we were on the high level, but in terms of mentality, we knew we were struggling. So we just tried to keep ourselves very calm. We work on 1 or 2 problems we had on the team. When we were about to get those wins, people get too excited, start communicating more than they should, start calling more than they should. So we start pointing out all those single mistakes and say, hey, this is happening, we're about to win, so stop that. So try to stay calm. We needed to stay calm in those situations. And then once we start getting those wins, everyone jump. I think when you win first, when you get the first big win, you jump to a whole different level because now you have the confidence. And with the confidence, you stop doubting yourself and you feel more natural to do stuff that sometimes you want when you don't have this confidence. It's just a boost that I can't really explain. You have to be a player to really feel that thing.
Okay. I mean, individually, that's another thing that's also obviously been famous about you, is that even in periods when the numbers aren't as great for you, people know you can still win a big clutch round, or if it's a really tough game. Did you do something to your mentality in that sense? Were you always like this as a player?
Well, I think everyone being confident and we having this boost in our mentality, it helped me a lot just because it was more natural to play and the team had a great chemistry and things were easier for me to call and I could focus a lot on my game. And I can't really put into words what changed for me, but things started going my way as well. I think at that time I had a great reading on how the game was being played. Like I really knew the strategies people were using. I really knew the timings they like to do. And I think teams are very scared to play against us as well. And you can see, like, when you see Astralis playing other teams nowadays, it's kind of the same thing. Like, things that happens against Astralis, normally they wouldn't do the same mistakes against other teams because they're doubling themselves too much. So when you are this team that is a little bit above all the others, it tends to go easier on your way somehow, just because people keep making mistakes, they keep doubling themselves, or Astralis is... Like I can judge for Astralis now because I kind of feel the same thing when we were playing back in the days. It's so much confidence that a single gap you leave to them, a single mistake you do, they're going to exploit that. Like they're going to abuse it because they feel like even if this doesn't work, someone else is going to pick up for them and win the round. So they're always trying something. And of course, they're super smart in game as well. So I don't know exactly what went well for me, but I just think I had a very good read on how the game was being played. And nowadays, I think this read changed a little bit because people are playing a little bit faster. When things like FaZe came up, they kind of changed the meta a little bit. And now Astralis changed it up again. So it's a little bit harder for me nowadays to be doing the same things I was doing before.
When you said that, because in 1.6, for people who don't know, I always have to mention this, that you were a 1.6 player, you were certainly a good player, and people thought, like you were one of the future of Brazil, etc. Because you came along so close to the end, and especially most notably when the MIBR sponsorship went away, so there wasn't a lot of money in Brazil, Like you say, you never got the proper chance to test yourself. Like you only went to a few international tournaments.
Yeah, 2 or 3 good tournaments.
When you came to CSGO, and we discussed this earlier in the interview, even though obviously that was a while ago when we did part 1, like in early CSGO, you weren't like topping MVP charts or whatever, in the early days of the Keyed Stars and Kaboom. So when 2016 came along, and not only was your team like getting to the #1 spot, winning tournaments, but you were somehow able to be an in-game leader and really good AWPer at the same time. They have all this fragging, etc. So what would you say about that? Because so few people have ever been able to be kind of like a potential star player or putting up big stats and be an in-game leader of the #1 team. It's like a very rare quality.
Yeah, so I was always an AWPer in 1.6, like almost all the time. But when we get close to 2011 and my teammates weren't really committed to Counter-Strike anymore, I mean, they played the game, but not on the same level I was putting research into it. I decided to start leading just because I was putting more effort into it. And it was very tough at first. Like, I really fucked up my game. I wasn't getting the same numbers, even 1.6, 2011. And it took me a lot of tournaments to get used to it. And then it started getting better. And then when I went to CSGO, naturally, because of this experience being a leader in 1.6, I was the leader in CSGO as well. And when we decided to merge the teams like Kaboom and Target Down, and we had ZKK on the team, I was an AWPer at the time as well. But then ZKK was a role AWPer too, and I thought he was super good at the time, and he was very decent, mainly on the first years of CSGO. And I say, hey, you'll be the AWPer, I'm going to be the leader, and I'm going to do the other stuff that had to be done, like my more support role. And I think that was... Despite people saying, hey, you are crazy, why did you left DWP for ZKK? Like, why you have done that? I think this helped me develop a lot in terms of learning the other stuff that has to be done in the team. So I learned a lot on that period. And after we decided to drop ZKK and change him for coldzera, which came up to be one of the best transfers that always happened. Yes. We didn't know that would be true, but so we bring up a very talented player. I was the AWPer again, and now with all the experience I had on CSGO in terms of support, in terms of being that player that can help people, I was also AWPing. And I just think this style of being a very supportive AWPer, it fits a lot the meta at the time. So it was great for me because I could be a support in terms of setting up the execution. And when the team was doing stuff that I already knew what they do, I know what to do along that. Like if they're doing that, if I do that, it's going to be good. I'm going to cover this position, or I'm going to make sure that works. So I was trying to do both things. So I specialized myself in helping people achieve something during the round, and then later I'll come up with my AWP skills and defense sides and stuff like that. And then the other part, CT, for example, as I could read the meta pretty well, I knew where I could find those important kills, like those first kills, breaking some strategies, and I could make some research into the teams. And one thing that I did in the past, and nowadays it's impossible. Nowadays it's impossible to follow every Counter-Strike match because there's so many matches that I can't watch often, right? But I think in 2015, 2016, I could watch them. Every single match that happened, I could go and watch it because we have like 4 to 8 matches a day, the most. I don't think we have more than that, and sometimes even less because we don't have all those online leagues going on at the same time. So it was easy to catch up a tournament. So there was not a single match that I didn't watch in terms of pro level. So even if I wasn't studying to anti-strat people, I knew the tendencies, because if I saw a good play from a player, hey, this guy likes to do that. When I go to play against him, I know he likes to do it. So sometimes I got those reads because I was watching that. But nowadays I feel it's super hard. I'm trying to watch more games nowadays, trying to get on the same level of understanding my opponents, but it's just so much going on that's hard to catch up with everyone involved. And there's so many good teams nowadays as well. Back in the days, who would you watch? You would watch Fnatic, you watch Navi, maybe a couple other teams at the time, but you didn't have to watch 8 or 10 teams that can really beat you now, So it's a bit harder nowadays to do the same.
Right, I remember there was a comment made in an interview. I think it was Zeus who said it before the second major, before ESL One Cologne, where he said something like the practice that the team had at the time was like you would scrim a few scrims, like a couple of hours, and then the rest of it would be like theory. It would be like, I assume, in front of like a whiteboard or something and showing like maps or something and talking about, right? Can you talk a little bit about this? Like, was that just specifically as a boot camp for the major? Did you do that in the team in general? What can you tell us on this topic?
Well, to be honest, my memory is not so great in terms of really having good understanding of what went up with me. But what I can recall is every time we go for a bootcamp in Europe, so we have been practicing with North American teams for 2 or 3 months. Then we go to Europe for 1 week. And we had our stuff. We had what we want to do, like our defaults, like the way we want to play. And then every time we would practice an international team, if one thing goes wrong, and then you see, hey, this doesn't work here because of that. So we would learn very quickly one style of gameplay or one kind of playing, holding aside that someone was doing. Then we will adapt very quickly. So one time we lose a round on practice and we'll discuss it after the game. Hey, this default against those kind of things, it doesn't work because of that, or Bloom changed this or that, or since they do it, now this could be good. We never did it before, but since they're doing that, this would be good. So by seeing what they're doing on practice, we would be able to change 1 or 2 things that will help us. And that was just because it's very normal for European teams to play a little bit different Counter-Strike. And I think nowadays it's kind of a similar thing. You can see this discrepancy between both regions nowadays because it's pretty much lookouts the same. But back in the days, 2015 and 16, you could really see it. Like you play in North America, they give you all this space. You're going to play in Europe, they don't give you all this space. They're going to fight a little bit more. So we could have a good understanding of what they would do by practicing sometimes against them. And then we would change things by talking and discussing it. And that's why I think at the time we had the best, I would say, the best practice in terms of really taking something from the practice out. But nowadays it's a little bit harder to do the same because it's not the same meta. It's not like people are following a meta and just changing 1 or 2 things. But now there's so many play styles going on and people are so much more aggressive nowadays. Like they're really fighting for more space. It was super easy back in the days to just get space, leave coldzera there, go back somewhere else and do something, like this is all we won a lot of tournaments. We get space. Now we know a situation we're playing in. Code's there, he's going to get 1 or 2 kills for free later. And we're going to make sure we trade on the side and plant the bomb. That's basically how we won a lot of rounds, and a lot of strategies was based around that. But nowadays, people already expect that lurk, So so a lot of coldziras start showing up in all teams because they know that this works. And then everyone is playing around those lurkers already, so it's not that effective anymore. So the game changed a lot meanwhile because we created this, not that we created it, but Code was so efficient doing those stuff that people start creating and copying the same strategies. And then a couple other styles came in. When I saw Cloud9 winning the major, for example, they had a different style where they would, instead of their lurker being this guy who's playing passive after taking control, they would throw a lot of nades, and then CU2K or Tarek is going to be inside a smoke, and then this guy is the lurker, and they're fighting somewhere else, and then he's going to find a kill. So it's a whole different concept that catch some people off guard, including us on Mirage, for example. One game we lost hard for them. And then you got FaZe, who's playing completely different. There are no such rules. They're just facing you, and they have all those great players who can get kills where you don't expect from and turn up all the situations. And then came Astralis with these innovative grenades ideas, and then very smart CS in all terms, like really taking the risk that's necessary. And when they start winning, when they get magic and the team start winning, they got this confidence. That's very hard to stop, but that's how it is. We're working to break a little bit of this confidence and get to the same level soon.
Okay. Right. When you won ESL One Cologne, like that, for me, that one tournament of all the tournaments that you played at that point in time was like easily the best. Like this was the one where it looked like, you know, when we talk about Columbus, you know, Team Liquid obviously had to like fuck some things up to let you win some of those maps, you know.
I think Liquid beat Fnatic, right? If I'm not wrong. I think Liquid was able to beat Fnatic with
but I'm talking about from Columbus. Yeah.
Columbus first?
Yeah, you're right. They did it Columbus as well though. But But yeah, coming in ESL Cologne though, this was the one where, aside from like some good games against Virtus.pro, everyone else it looked like you were like at least slightly better than. Was this like a peak for the team? Because obviously after that lineup didn't win any more tournaments. So what would you say about that?
Yeah, I definitely think the team was playing great at that time. And to be honest, that was one of the easiest tournaments we won in terms of winning the hard tournaments. Of course, it was a major, but we didn't, as you said, I think the match that we could have gone other way was the match against Virtus.pro on the semis. But despite that, they were pretty convincing wins. I'm checking the results here. 2-0 against Liquid, 2-1 against Virtus.pro, 2-0 flip side. And then we beat FaZe. I think we beat G2 at the group stage too, right? Yeah, so yes. Our group was the group of death. When this got drawn, we're like, dude, this is hard, but we're going to show them who are the bosses, right? But we are a little bit afraid, right? We could go easily out of groups. If we lose to G2 and FaZe, we could go easily out of groups. But we start good against G2 as a couple match. Then later we play FaZe, Cabo as well. And that's something to be said as well. Like, I don't think we were talking about this, but Cabo was one of our strongest maps. And you can see here, like, he gave us a major, gave us a group stage for major, and now Cabo is out. I'm sad about that. I was checking some Reddit comments lately, and I saw people 6 months ago, Nuke was adding instead of Cabo. 6 months ago, Astralis got him back. And yeah, that's actually true. It's Cabo. It's all because of Cabo. Kidding. It's not all because of Cabo, but Cabo was a big part of our game. Cabo was a big part of our game for many tournaments. It was one of our best maps, including the finals. We beat Liquid on Cabo as well. So yeah, this was a great tournament. I think everyone was playing on a very good level. The team was very confident. And it's funny to say that we only win those two tournaments in 2016, to be honest, because we have so many runs where we ended second or ended semis. So many
finals, semis.
So many. Yeah, I always have semis or finals, but we always screw up something. In the end, we only win those majors in 2 more, if I'm not wrong. We did 4 wins, but the team was feeling great at this time, and I don't know, on this major we just felt we were a little bit above the others.
Okay. Right, obviously another map that in this particular period was legendary for your team was Train, when you had the streak where you were going and eventually it went up to 17 before Astralis. And actually, for people who don't know, the last game that you played with the FNX lineup was that game that they beat you on Train, and that's obviously the end of E-League Season 2. So what was the team so good about on Train? Because the funny thing I remember is, in the early days of this lineup, no one initially noticed that Train was super good, because you had like the 3 maps that were amazing. You had Overpass, Mirage and Train, and I noticed even back in the early days, you used to just basically like switch up which you picked based on the opponent's weakness. It wasn't like Astralis now with Nuke, where if it's available, they just pick it 100% of the time because they know they're going to win. Like, you actually weren't like sort of leaning on Train as though it was like a crutch in the same way, but you got this amazing streak on it by the end. So what worked so well on Train, do you think?
Well, I really, to give you a full answer on that, I really need to watch the matches and try to make a comparison to how people are playing Train nowadays. But I remember that some of our strongest points was first, this thing about soloing B by Taco and just coming back with a second player to rotate when he had info was super important. And that's something nowadays you can be a little bit punished if you do that, because people learn how to play against it. And this was very effective. Taco was a very good B holder. And other things that we were great at, Code was super aggressive on Ivy, not aggressive in terms of really showing up and getting trash control like super further, but he always was blocking them before Fridge. We always had some set plays where we could kill people, and he did a very outstanding job in Ivy. And for many times, for long games, he had a lot of plays he could do to find kills there. Nowadays, a little bit harder. People change the way they control Ivy. People change the way they kind of expect some of the one-ways code would use there. So code sometimes can't take the same advantage as he used to do on Ivy, but he's still a very good player there. And I think people challenged the AWPer way more in the past in terms of A side as well. Like people would go try to kill mid, people would go. It was super popular at the time to send a player Olaf. I don't know if you remember that. Like
yes.
The Olaf would go like to this corridor on the left side train mid, and he would try to do plays around that, and everyone was trying to copy that. So for me, it was funny because I always knew there would be a first fight there. I would go back 6, and I know, hey, someone's going to be trying to fight here. And from there on, I always try to pick up those kills. And later, if things go apart, they start getting more progress. I think FNX played a big role on Train as well, because FNX was someone who, for example, the biggest difference, and we also had these discussions into the team when we bring felps, for example. felps was a very strong ladder player. Like if felps was in ladder, and mainly when teams didn't know how to take ladder properly, no one could go down ladder. Like he would kill 1 or 2, and then teams took some months for teams to understand, hey, if this guy's playing here, we got to learn this new flash that you break the window and throw the flash at the same time so they can hear it, or we can boost and go double down boost. So I think we saw a lot of change in the way people played Train just by the way they control ladder room, right? That's we can talk about that and discuss month after month. It kept changing, and felps was a very strong ladder player, and he won some matches. But after doing the same, suddenly they always knew he was ladder, right? So for me, it was harder because I would be back 6, I would be side, I would be top Z, and people would say, "Hey, as soon as you see FalleN, you know the other guy is ladder." So they didn't have to really check out the other spots because they're already specking on ladder. And then I said, "Hey, felps, you got to change your spots. They know you're a strong ladder player, but for me, it's harder now because they know you're ladder, so they're all focused on flashing me out somewhere, and then they're bursting me." So, and I think FNX did a great job by changing his position a lot and being the passive player that would play around me. And it's not that we even would talk about it. It's not that we would discuss setups, but he just knew naturally what to do. So if he sees I'm on side, he's gonna say, "Hey, I have your left." Or sometimes we don't even say anything, but he's gonna get this important kill that will mess my game, and I would get the others. So it was just a natural balance where FNX would kind of do whatever has to be done, and he would feel what I need the most. And by not being an aggressive player, by being more just passive player that relies on the teams doing something as well, like not trying to win the match by himself, he would fill those gaps and give me a lot of freedom in the map. So I had a great time playing Train with FNX, mainly because of those things and because of how the teams were playing. Like they gave me so many opportunities to kill people going outside mid. And actually at the time I was younger, I was hitting some great shots too. People would jump mid, I would get them. Sure. I even made a joke with Ricardo those days. I have to put someone jumping team mid from the right to the left so I can hit them again, because nowadays I'm missing those shots.
Right, okay. What about this then? So, as you say, even when this team wasn't winning championships anymore, you were always in the semis or the final, and obviously there was a lot of very close losses where you might have won some of these tournaments. But the bizarre part is, even though I actually understand a lot of pros, to a fan, that still sounds awesome. Like, I'm in the finals every time. It's like, if you are someone who's used to winning, though, that's the worst, is to always be close and not do it. So I can understand why you might eventually change the lineup. But the question I had is this: why could the lineup not just wait until after that major to change? Like, why did you make the change and have to kick FNX out so early? Like, was there some particular reason you couldn't just say, like, hey, let's just do like 2 more tournaments or whatever it was, and then we split?
Yeah, what you said is right. Like, going and being in top 4 when you are not there is the best thing in the world. Like, if you're a top 10 team in the world, you start getting top 4 every time, you're going to say, "Hey, this is great, guys. Keep going. Like, we're going to get there soon." But once you're on the top, you won 2 majors and you want to win more and more and more, you start losing too much. Even if it's in the semis, even if it's in the finals, we're like, dude, we're missing something. You always want to get better. And the problem is with the defeats, you kind of want to fix the mistakes, right? And that's when you need the team to work and you need the players to commit to some adjustment, because you want to win. You don't want to be losing finals, right? And then that's when sometimes one or another player is not going to feel the same. Some of them is going to feel satisfied with what we have, or it's not going to work hard the same. And I think with FNX, what happened that is our relationship outside the game start breaking apart with all those defeats and all those attempts to fix those mistakes that are not fixed. And we would lose 1 or 2 tournaments, and sometimes it would be because of the same mistakes they were already talking about on the previous tournament, and then this would happen again. And that was just a headache because, hey, we just talked about it, and then we lost another one because of this again. And then because of a little bit of his personality, FNX is a little bit hard to deal with in terms of making him understand something you want to say, and he's a little bit defensive. And so it was a little bit hard to really point those things out. So at some point, it was just very difficult to talk with FNX and really having a decent conversation in terms of, hey, understand that, yeah, let's move forward, I'm gonna fix it. It was hard to get this from him, you know. So the team felt like, hey, he's not committed, or just the synergy was breaking out tournament by tournament. And the reason we changed it before a tournament is just because we were on a stress point where the main question we did to ourselves is, guys, are we playing to be the best in the world, or we're playing to have fun, right? Like, what is the main reason we got here? And everyone agreed that we're here to have fun, and we're not having fun at the time. It was super stressful because of all those things. And then we say, hey, it doesn't matter who we play with, let's just bring someone else. If it's good or not, we'll see. Maybe we're not going to win the major, maybe we're going to lose hard, doesn't matter, at least we're going to have fun. That's why we changed, because it was so stressful at the time. And that's why we made that change before the major went up.
Okay. Right. In this year, as we alluded to from talking about Cologne, one of the main rivals was Virtus.pro when your team started winning. And at the majors, you were able to beat them. After that, they had some wins where they got some really key victories. I mean, one that stands out in my memory always is the ESL New York one. That was like if you're just a fan of Counter-Strike, Virtus.pro.
Okay.
And if people remember the ESL One New York semi-final, that was like, I call it like champagne Counter-Strike. Like, it's just, if you're a fan, it's like the best match to watch, basically. You know, every team's going back
New York,
2016.
16, okay.
And this was the era when the two of you it was just backwards and forwards. And part of it was, you know, you had like the same map pool, basically. You played the same train, Mirage every single time. So it's going to be a great series in that sense. What made, obviously now that Virtus.pro lineup is dead, you know, a bunch of the players aren't considered good players at the moment. What was so good about Virtus.pro back then? What made them a tough team to play, or what was the matchups like when you would play them?
So first, I think at the time, they were more effective as players. Like, they were just great players, individually speaking, and Snacks could take something out of the head once in a while that nobody else would do it. And they were just consistent. Even Pasha was the most annoying player to play against, because it felt like he was. I even said that against Navi, and people misinterpret me recently. It felt like Pasha should be a bad player, but he's there wrecking you, yes. Like doing his crazy movements, doing piece he shouldn't, or getting positions you kind of know he is, but you think you can challenge him, but you can. I used to say that there's a position on train on A side where I'm holding Ivy from the side. The only player who was able to kill me there with an AWP was Pasha, because he did the Pinocchio movement. I even joke him with it. He just showed up with the AWP, showed me the AWP. I missed the shot. He shows up again, kill me.
Okay,
and I'm pretty sure I don't know how he did it. I don't think he even. But those some Pasha things, like, so they were able to get those things going on their way because they were very solid, and get those moments where they would shine, each one at the moment. And as a team, they were hard to play against because they had so many fakes. Like Virtus.pro, they play a different CS as everyone else. Like, they would be satisfied with less map control than anybody else, and from their position, they would throw a couple of days that you think something is coming, and then they rely on someone from our team changing position, then they're going through, and then they're faking it, and you never know where it's gonna be. You know, against Virtus.pro, we always felt we're always susceptible to be losing for a fake, so you can't move too much. And when we moved, we got punched. I even remember one of the tournaments, Epicenter, we played 2017. Yes. I ended up being important to the match and winning the game for us, winning the clutch with both 2v4 and all those things. But I remember on CT side, they're throwing all those nades, and I moved for 1 or 2 seconds. That's when they are using the times, you know. So they really knew what they were doing in terms of calling, and they had all those good ideas. And I don't know, it just felt like when they did their boot camps, when they played a little bit better, they all got the confidence back. Virtus.pro as a team, even if they're playing shit for 1 or 2 tournaments, when they got back practicing, when they start, they always came up with something innovative as well. You know, the B pop on cash that people know nowadays, like they smoke the B entrance and then people just storm out. The first time we saw people doing that was Virtus.pro, to be honest. I remember watching this tournament. And they won a tournament and win a lot of cash games off that. No one was expecting people to really go out of the smoke and be pop like that. And Virtus.pro sometimes will come with 1 or 2 pieces of strategies that really change the meta. So Virtus.pro was ahead of the meta sometimes in 1 or 2 maps with 1 or 2 strategies that will give them very good rounds. And that's why we say the plow, right? So, and I think as a player who was playing against it, you didn't really know what was going on because no one did that strategy yet. I remember when we played Nuke against them, at the time we were playing Nuke. And that's actually funny. We're losing Nuke City side for them. They had a new execution way where people were getting out of hut with flashes going over. And basically they had a very good exec going on. And the team just say, hey, if we stay inside A, we're going to die. There is no position we don't get blind. They're going out with the flashes and there's nothing we can do. That's basically the comment we did after losing 2 times for that. So nobody saw it. Nobody knew how they did it because they just showed up with that. So that's one of their strengths as well. And I think what they lost with the time is first, they lost the confidence between themselves after some of their defeats. And somehow, or some specific reason, they didn't come up with these innovative ideas anymore. So they're not really bringing those different strategies and they start breaking apart. That's what I feel from outside, but can't really say because I'm not there.
Well, this ties in then, because if people remember, in early 2017, there was a period of time when SK was falling apart. You had FalleN in the lineup, and you had these couple of tournaments. It was the Star Series and the IEM Katowice, where you didn't get into the playoffs. And this is when, if I'm correct, when I believe there's that story that Fur and coldzera have, where, you know, like they were like saying like, oh, let's just split the team up or something, and then they go away, and, you know, there's like a cool element where they come back together and they're like, fuck it, let's win everything. You know, it's in a movie that would be like a really great scene, obviously, where like you kind of get things back together. From your perspective, did you ever think actually like the team might just split in half, or maybe someone retires or leaves and we have to start again?
So basically what happened when felps came up to the team, we knew we had a second Fur on the team. Like felps is like a Fur player, like the roles, like felps really shaped himself as a player watching Fur. So when we bring felps to the team, we knew that he wasn't the right player in terms of role, but his ceiling and his potential was bigger than the other players we could choose from.
Sure.
So we kind of bring him to the team and say, hey, how do we put all those pieces together now? We actually don't know. So what do we do? We went for Vegas playing like FPL style in terms of being aggressive whenever they want, like let them choose the stuff they want to do. And it worked great. We went to the finals and we lost for VP because of a task clutch. That was 1-on-1 v2 on Mirage and we lost the finals. Otherwise, we would have won the match. So the feeling is, yeah, we're playing great. That's how we should play. But every sloppy play, every too aggressive game has its flaws, and when we play the next 2 tournaments, everything will go against us. So, for example, Overpass, when we're playing default, you normally don't throw the blue guy, like the connector guy first. We're going 3 park, 1 blue, 1 monster. You normally don't put the blue guy to go fight first with no purpose by himself, mainly on Anticos because he's alone, right? You want the guys who go as a group to take the initial fights. And on that time, we didn't really care about that. People are doing whatever they want. And so we start getting punished by all those things. And Navi beat us on the Zico, and then we lost an overpass for them. So every margin of error we give for opponents, they were taking it. So what was the feeling after the 2 tournaments? Hey, we can't play like that. Like, it worked great for the first tournament, but you see, like all those flaws, those are mistakes we don't do. We know this is wrong, and now we're doing all those things just because we're trying to give everyone freedom and stuff like that. So me and coldzera start really feeling this is not the game you like to play. This is not as smart as we think Counter-Strike should be played in. And then we literally had a conversation where, hey, felps, we tried the best this way, playing with you. We thought it would be good, but conclusion is it's not that great. It's not, what's the word in English? It doesn't happen every time. You know, like you can't really rely. It's not reliable. Yeah, it's not consistent. Yeah, it's not consistent, not reliable. And then felps agreed. He said, yeah, I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. And then felps start transforming himself into another player. So felps start now, instead of playing more like Fear, instead of creating all those space and looking for all those fights, he was more like, what do you guys need from me? So what should I do? Like, which positions are we missing? And then he started building himself again. And that's when we won 4 or 5 tournaments in a row. We won first Summit and then 3 or 4 great tournaments, ECS and a couple others. That was a great run for us. I don't really remember why coldzera and Fear fought. I think it was something very stupid. Everyone was super stressed after those 3 tournaments that we initially had with felps. And I think it was kind of a WhatsApp message that didn't go really well. And they just had a super fight because they were super stressed. But it wasn't something special. It's like, hey, you're going to come eat? No, we're not going to eat. And then one guy started fighting further hard. You know, it was something like that. It wasn't a really super big reason. But at the time, because everyone being so stressed, it became something super bigger. And then I remember we were at the airplane. I say, hey, Taco, we got to fix the thing, dude. They're fighting. What are we going to do to fix that? At the time, Taco even said, hey, FalleN, probably going to split. Me and Code are going to go somewhere else. So we had those conversations, but we're actually trying hard to fix it. And at that time, we went to I can say that this was the bottom ground. And I think fair fight with Cold, theoretically, as you can see, part of a fight. It just was the bottom line of the process we were having, all the stress. And we came back stronger from that. Like, everyone got together. We had a very special meeting. A lot of people who like us, Camila and Ricardo, were very important on that part because they got some testimonials from a lot of people that like us. Even Neymar sent us a video, and a lot of family people, and say, hey, you guys have to work together. You guys are a family. You have been working for so long to get there. You can't just let it go in. So it kind of touched us in an emotional way, where we're like, all right, let's give it another try. Let's move felps to a different role and let's try it again. And that's when we start playing super well again. coldzera got back to his numbers. The team was playing great. And we're playing one of our best CS we ever played, to be honest. Like, I think the ECS tournament we won, beating FaZe and Astralis, very close match.
Epic games. Yeah.
For me, this is a win. This tournament, it has a bigger place on my heart than the second major, for example. That was such a difficult tournament. In terms of gameplay, in terms of quality, in terms of the games, it was such a great tournament to play. So that was quite a special tournament. And after that, I think things started going south again when we lose the major, mainly for Astralis on quarterfinals, I think, the PLG major. And especially because after all those wins, we were tired, right? We're on the road winning 4 tournaments in a row. We want to make the 5th or want to make the 4th, I don't remember now. And people were stressed already. We didn't have much time to create new things. And we really want to win that major. We felt that we could win it. And during the preparation, some of our players, I remember having one discussion where I say, hey, don't do that in practice. Like, we're not going to do that in game. And one of the players come to me and say, hey, but we're winning. So after we stop winning, then you talk something to me. So some of ego problems started going on into the team because we're winning too much. And then we didn't deal with it properly. We lost the major. And then from there, I don't think we covered super well. Outside problems start happening again. Like, we start getting stressed with each other. And that's when I think felps decided to leave the team, actually. He saw that everything was going on. He saw there was a possibility where we didn't want to play with him. And he just felt that it would be better that way, and then he decided to leave.
When you had that match at the major, like, first of all, it was kind of bullshit because you and Astralis were like the 2 favourites and you got drawn in the quarterfinals. So, like, that should, for me, that should have been like a final or a semi-final, to be like a true match. But in this particular game, this was the one where famously Device had a very, very good series. And this was actually when he'd already said in interviews, I think very briefly before, that he was doing this approach where he would like study heat maps and study also, what he would do so that he could like kind of like be in a position the opponent wouldn't expect. And that game especially, if you ever go and watch like the VOD from his POV, like, he is literally almost like, obviously with an AWP you can't literally pre-fire because the bullet fires instantly, but he's like almost pre-firing the spots you're coming to,
Yeah, I watched that match a couple of times.
Waiting. Was that bullshit to play in where you just like, he's just there every time you go around the corner?
The second map was bullshit to play in because not only he knew a lot of stuff I would do, but I got so unlucky on some of the things I was doing too. But the first map, it felt like their game plan was challenging me. And it's not that he would come and try to kill me by himself. They would be smart. All right, they didn't smoke mid, so he's AWPing mid. Since he's AWPing mid on cash, either he's Z or he's white box. So they would boost him on the on container. He would check, okay, he's not Z, so now flash white box. And then he would try to take a peek on me on cash. So they're not playing the round to win, they're playing the round to kill me, some of the rounds, And of course, we never suffered from that. Of course, I died 1 or 2 times around those plays. And that's when I realized like they had something special around me, and that's when it kind of changed my game playing. And I don't think we specifically lost cash match because of it, but it definitely gave it then to 1 or 2 good rounds. But when it went to overpass, he knew some of the picks I like to do. I think the first one that got me killed was the just best spawn comes straight to pick me and then check the C's ramp, and then he killed me there. And that's a shot I could have hit too. Like, I saw his head, he saw me, and he just had a bet in there and killed me first. And then second thing, I had a good read on stuff he would do on long A. I knew he liked to open long A by himself, and I decided to stay on 3, hiding on the 3, But then I think nerves got a little bit to me. I didn't wait properly. I had to wait like 5 or 6 seconds more, and I could kill him off guard. But I didn't wait properly. So at the time I was 3 and I was showing up, he was still checking 3. So I missed the time. The play was kind of okay, but I missed the timing. And then it looked like he was getting a good read on me, but actually it was me trying to get a good read on him, but I fucked up the timing. And then on the third one, when I realized, okay, I'm not gonna look for those fights anymore because I'm gonna lose then, so I'm gonna play safe. That's when I got tilted. I think the only time I got tilted playing CS. I went bathroom and I was checking for the fountain pick, right? You just go bathroom a little bit more to the right, and then you check for fountain. Someone shows up, and then when I'm there, the device shows up and kill me. And I literally didn't have anything to say to my teammates at that time. Okay. I was like, okay, guys, I just said I wouldn't die anymore. I thought this was a safe pick, and I got killed anyway. That one was the top of the cake, Like after this one, it's not that I lost the match, but I was like, all right, now I'm hiding. I'm not even doing anything. So yeah, that was one of the only times I got this game and a game against Guardian on those two. Those games I got destroyed in terms of the other AWPing really challenging me. And the funny part against the Guardian game is that at a specific point I was dying for Guardian so much, and I got a rifle. And when I knew he was opening catwalk as a T-side player, I just rushed him and killed him and got traded. I was like, all right, I did my part, I killed Guardian. 4v4. It's way better like this. Trust me. I say during the run, guys, 4v4 way better than the other runs. Don't worry. And they actually won the round, I think. But anyways, those two games are memorable for me where I got wrecked. But I'm pretty sure they should have some games where I wrecked in as well. It's just part of the game. It happens.
Yes. Right, so if people remember, after this, like we can skip past the bit where like it started to go downhill with felps a bit, like it was where you lost to Team Liquid a few times, and you were still having top 4 finishes, there were still some good results, but then you made the swap and you brought in bolts, and one of the interesting things about this is obviously this is when you had another return to the top, and you won 3 out of the 4 tournaments, and some of these were really big titles, but one of the things I wanted to ask you about was, we've seen all these different players come into the lineup, so we had Taco joined the team initially, and then we later had felps join the team, and then we had bolts join the team. And no matter who these players are, they're all very different players. When they join the team, they become SK players. They become like it's like whatever the team culture is, somehow they become that style of player, and suddenly they're part of this story of what I was talking about before, like all the clutch comebacks and all the amazing like clutch wins and amazing like holding on, like composure in a big game, not falling apart. Like, is there something actually? Did you guys actually consciously say these things? Was there how did the culture work in the team to make these players kind of have the same identity?
We're going to be open with you now, and I think you're kind of giving me a free class about stuff we did in the past that now I'm realizing, like maybe I should use it more nowadays as well. So basically, I don't know if you got me, like reflecting about all those stuff, yes. And now trying to see what's going on inside the team nowadays, you can see some difference. Mainly thing is, all those players who came into the team, they kind of had the same role. Despite felps having a different experience on the first 3 tournaments, they all had the same roles. They were lurkers. They would play a little bit more apart from the team. So the machine would work. They were the 52 of the machine. And all they had to do is not screw up and show up sometimes to do their job. And then we had a good team already, Like the team knew how to play together. 4 of us, we knew how to cooperate together and coexist together. So the 5th player would bring us something else, would be a reliable player, would be good to go in. And in terms of atmosphere, we had a culture on the team where during the games, we're always positive. There is no slashing tables, there is no trash talk because you died and not really communicating what's going on. Everything that's negative, we try to keep away from the game. And of course, if something goes wrong, we'll talk about it after the game, and then we're going to sort it out and maybe discover 1 or 2 new things that we should use in the future. But during the game, it's all about winning. It doesn't matter what it takes, and there's no complaints. And that's something very hard to replicate. Like even nowadays on our team, it's a little bit hard to put into work because of all the cultural difference we have into the team, even though we improved a lot in that sense. But on that time, everyone who came up to our team, the atmosphere was there already. So they couldn't be that 5th guy who is screwing it up, And like the rules were, you don't complain, no one complains, we talk about what happens after the game, and we always think positive and we always think we're going to win. That's basically what we say to every player who joined our team. And funny fact is, within time, maybe we, the 4 of us, would be the guys complaining a little bit about some stuff.
Right.
And losing this mentality, even with the other players, like in the past. So this mentality helped us a lot, bringing all those players. And I think all of them had a big role. For example, Boats, when he came into the team, he had that game in Cobblestone against VP where he just crushed his necks on catwalk. I don't know, the long A on Cobblestone by himself on the overtime, and he got like literally 9 kills in the overtime and won the game for us. So I think both had some super great matches. And somehow I think our system, the way we work, we kind of screw up the players a little bit in the end, like in the long run, because we are so, what's the word in English? It's not that we're robotic, but we're fundamentalist. I don't know what the word for it, but we kind of see the game. Sound. Yeah, we have the things we like to do in game, and we theorycraft around it. And sometimes that's mainly on me and coldzera, a little bit more of coldzera. We have an idea of how the round should be played, and Counter-Strike is not really a very ideal subject where you can know how everything is going to go every time. But I think some of those players, because of their personality, every time we would criticize them, hey, this round you should have played differently. According to what we think is right, you should have played differently. And some of those players, they would receive those information and get a little bit frustrated of it. Like, they're going to take it in a negative way. And slowly, they're going to lose confidence. And because of the way they are, because of the way of not saying something back to coldzera, not saying something back to FalleN, they would feel a little bit down. And that's when I started realizing they're not performing that great anymore. They're not taking the risk they like to take it because they don't want to screw up. So in a way, we're trying to help those players and trying to make them think better. I don't think every time they took it the best way. So it kind of hurt them in the long term, That's my feeling, at least, because every time we are very critical when we lose. So if we lose a match, we want to know why. And if we want to know why, we want to know where we fuck it up so we can get better. So even though we gave advices in a proper way, advices in a positive way, like to help them change something if they think it should be changed, most people, they just can't take it away. Like if Code come to me and say, hey, FalleN, this round played this one different, I'm going to talk to him. We're going to get into a point where we're going to agree with each other, and I'm going to move on, and it's going to be good for me. But I felt like for felps or for both in the past, some of those tips, like some of those things we're trying to help them, is screwed it up in the end, in the long run. It's just hard to explain, but just my feeling on how it went on the long run.
Sure.
Timelines.
So even before Felps left the team, like FaZe was already one of your big rivals because you met them in all those finals and you won all of them, obviously. When you got to the point where the new FaZe Clan came with Olaf Meister and Guardian, and obviously the really crazy event was the New York one they won, where they just won like every pistol round and beat everyone 16-6 or whatever on every single map, and looked so insane, right? When you see a team like that, if I told someone after that tournament, oh, this SK team, which is just trying to get back on its feet, it's just gotten bolts, they beat that FaZe Clan pretty much every time from here on out, people would think that it's impossible. How could you? Like, the thing is, it looked almost like they'd broken Counter-Strike, So how did you do it? So basically, this FaZe Clan was very scary, and I can say a very personal thing. When they came up with this lineup, I knew it was a lineup that could challenge us, and I was feeling a little bit of lack of motivation at the time. I don't know why. Playing for so long, sometimes you have those lulls and ups. And at this specific time, I say, hey, those guys want to come up and dethrone us. Now it's time for me to really give it more and play more and make sure we show them where the boss is, right? So I even remember I was watching, what's the name of the runner? Usain Bolt? Usain Bolt, yeah. I was watching, like I started looking for some cool movies, and then I found Usain Bolt on Netflix. I was watching it, and it's such a inspirational history. And after watching that movie, straight went back to the PCs late in the night, started playing more and more and more. So for me, they're creating their team kind of helped me bringing back my motivation, because I want to prove a point that doesn't matter if they fit all the stars, we can beat them. And in-game style, I can say they're all super great players, but mainly at first, and they were not super organized because they're always looking for challenging, always looking for kills, right? In our team, we're great to play against that because you couldn't fuck up with us. We have the aim as well, and we have the organization. We organize the play as a team. So if you come up just trying to fight us and we have 1 or 2 first kills with AWPs, the round is easy. We're not going to give you a 5v4, not going to lose you a 5v3 because we know how to trade up after that. And at that time, I think not only we had a good plan to play around them and know where they like to fight the most and get those first kills, but they had a very strong mental deficit to play against us. They have been losing for us for so long that they didn't believe they could beat us. Maybe Olaf, when he came up and he was not losing for us too much, he really believed it. But the other players, I'm pretty sure they would go to the game and they knew they would lose. They can say otherwise they won, but in game you could feel it. Like they didn't really believe they would win it.
Like even Kerrigan, I think he had a 14 maps defeat for us last streak.
Yes.
So you can't say a guy who lost 14 times in a row they're going to win the next one. He doesn't feel like he's going to win. Doesn't matter what he says. Doesn't matter if he puts a watermelon in the head and says, hey, I'm winning today. You just don't feel it in the game, you know? So we really had this going upwards for us. And everyone in the team got really hyped to play against them because we knew they could challenge us. We knew they had what it takes to beat us. So we really make sure to go to that match very hyped and make sure we could beat them. And I remember even Code said at times, the first match we play against them is the most important one. If we lose the first one, they will know they can beat us. And then it's going to start getting harder. So let's make sure we destroy them first. And then it's going to be much easier for the next encounters. And he was absolutely right because it was a mental wedge against them for so long. And we kind of lost that in the end when they start beating us later after lost a lot of tournaments for us. But it lasts long, right? I think it lasts a couple of months and we beat them many tournaments. We beat them almost entirely 2017, if I'm not wrong. Maybe we lost only 2018 for them.
Yes. Well, what about this then? So, like I said, when they won New York, it did look impossible. But actually, this is a story I've told people sometimes. Sadly, there was someone who actually did an interview with me at that event when the event ended. And unfortunately, like they fucked up the recording and the interview just never got released. But in the interview, I actually made sort of like a ballsy prediction because I said, actually, I don't think any team can keep doing what they're doing at this event, basically, because if they do, they've just broken Counter-Strike and, tactics don't exist anymore and you just
that was the feeling. I remember that. So, I was watching the finals. I was like, dude, if this continues, who can stop that? Yeah, that was kind of the feeling.
But now my question is this, like, could that team actually have been the number one? Like, could they have been the best ever? Like, is it too many star players? Do you need more? Do you need a different type of player to balance it or something? What's your take?
Well, what I feel like, and I think results are going to help me a little bit on that. FaZe, the way they played, it's all about the strong individual plays and kind of being relentless and being very effective on what they're doing, but not too organized. FaZe has never been, at least all those FaZe games, I never seen them too organized. And then what happened in the long run, I think they start feeling they had to organize themselves more to achieve more. And I think this kind of hurt them in the end. Because by organizing more, you're taking away all those brilliance, all those gaps they always take, all those fights they always win, all this confidence that players always have. And now they look more organized, but they don't look as strong as they were individual before. Like you look for Nico playing nowadays, you look for Rain playing nowadays. It's just not the same level. This is what I see. Of course, they're still great, still good players, but the level they were playing before is just way above everyone else. They could win any fight. They could win any 1v3, any round with a Deagle. They could make it work because they're just feeling on a super strong point. And then losses start happening. They start say, hey, this style is just not working anymore. We need to change it. And then they start transforming the way they play. That's what I feel from outside, right? I could be completely wrong, but I feel like they're trying to organize the team more. And in the end, it just doesn't fit their style. And that's when they bring the standing, when they bring the Danish guy, Chrome, right?
Yeah,
Chrome. And when they bring Chrome, they have to go back to the other style, right? Like they don't have time to work around. Yes. They don't have time to show him all the stuff they got prepared. So they just play their game. They just play the basics, just fundamentals, and they start winning tournaments again. Because suddenly they're playing on the way they like to play. Now that's what I feel like for me from outside. So 3 tips: just YOLO FaZe. That's your game. Don't think too much. That's when they play the most. I was checking the results here on that specifically tournament. We lost 2-1 for Liquid on New York 2017. Yes. Liquid removing us from there. And we won. Apparently, Inferno overpassing Cobblestone. I think that's the one we lost Cobblestone, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, we lost Cobblestone 16-14. That's a shame. And lost Inferno 22-18. And to be honest, that was a good example on how you can take away on the mentality game from one matchup. I think after that tournament, Liquid started beating us way more than they beat us in the past. Just by winning that best of 3.
Okay. All right, what about this then? So when you've talked about all these different lineups and, like in theory, it's the same team, but, one player changes or one player here changes a role or whatever it might be. And you've gotten back to the top again and again and again, right? If people say now, like, why isn't the team at the top? I always tell people, go look in history, there's very few teams ever go back to the top again. Like, they go to the top once, and then maybe, like, okay, Fnatic maybe did it 2 times, and then Astralis now maybe 2 times, Virtus.pro a couple, like, NIP never went back to the top as the number one team. You know, most teams actually have their time and then they fall away. People figure them out and they're never as good again. But as we said before, if you have been a champion, it's kind of like nothing else will do. Like, you have to win. Like, it's not cool to be like, hey, we had a great game and, you know, we lost in the semi-finals. Like, that's not cool. Like, you've already been to the top. So has it been tough in 2018 mentally for you as like the leader to accept tournaments where you go out in 16th place or don't even make the playoffs or make the playoffs and get beaten straight away? What's the challenge been like dealing with that? Like,
well, it's so many things to be working around that it's been super tough. And I'm a very reasonable guy in terms of accepting stuff as they are. So I can deal with those stuff better than my teammates for sure. But it's super hard to deal with those things. That's to say that once you are a winner, you don't want to be fighting for group stage anymore. Like, this is just not your level anymore. There's nothing you can do to change this mentality. And I think the first thing that we kind of understated and underestimated is the fact that speaking English would be easier, right? We thought that, hey, we're so fucking great that speaking English is not hard. We play a couple of FPL games here. It's going to be fine, right? So that helped us take our decision to go national. Like, it's okay, we can do that. It's not a big deal. Everyone thought the same. Even me, Cold Fair, we thought, hey, we can do that. Not going to be a big deal. One month we're going to be fine. But in the end, it took us more time than that. It took us three real months to really get comfortable with. So first, if you ask us, we're not back at the top yet. We're fighting against ourselves. Like, we're fighting against our communication at some point. And meanwhile, you are losing for teams that normally don't lose. Like, during all those processes, you're losing your confidence because you're losing for teams that not only in dreams they would achieve best of 3 wins against you. And this kind of hurts your confidence even more. And then other problems pops up from there. And you're working all around that. And now when we bring in Tarek, our communication is on a good point. We kind of trying to figure out the best way to play with all of us. What I discovered with all this experience too is that a huge difference in the way Americans play Counter-Strike and the way Brazilians play Counter-Strike is just super different. Like, the gaps they think they should take, they like to take it a lot. And we would say, hey, yes, we can win with this gap, but we don't need this gap to win. So all those decision-making styles that we're a little bit fighting at first, but now trying to get on the same page. I mean, it's getting better and better. So there's so much we understated and underestimated that we have been trying to fight with. Plus the fact that individually speaking, we had a drop off. Of course, with all those things going on, it's hard to keep the same level. And I can speak for myself, like, not really satisfied with my level. Not really. I could be playing much better, but there's not much to do but put myself at work and keep hoping for better days and make sure I work and practice and try to improve and learn more. So I just don't keep thinking about it because it's going to be worse and harm me more than help. And I think we are pretty satisfied with the one we had now with Yanko, like coming back with some stuff and help with the team. We are very close to beat Astralis, who you can never count off as well. On the meanwhile, with all those things happening to us, a super team showed up. Like, Astralis is one of the best teams that ever showed up in Counter-Strike. They just had a good synergy together. They had really great results, and it's been very tough to beat them. But we were very close to beat them in the last series. And we lost 16-14 on the third map, so we could have gone other way. Of course, it doesn't mean anything now that we lost, but it kind of means something to us because we know we're very close to beat them. That's something important when we are on the run. So we have to see what's going to be last for the couple next tournaments that are coming up. We have 1 more week of practice now. And then we are traveling to Virtus.pro series in Copenhagen. It's going to be cool to see if we can repeat the fact or even beat them this time.
One thing I wanted to touch on was when earlier this year, before you got Tarek, you did that move where it's like, first of all, it was like, it heard that coldzera is the in-game leader now. And then by the time we got to the Star Series tournament, it was like, right, well, we do it like he does 2 maps, and then I do like these maps. And then like Stewie2K even supposedly did 1 map as the in-game leader. Like, when that happens, if you're someone on the outside, that sounds like there's been an argument, and it's like coldzera's like, right, my turn to be the in-game leader, I do it now. This is quite shocking, you know, if someone's been in-game leader for a long time. So how does that come in?
It might look like that, but the truth is just because we're such a mess where we don't really know what's the path we should be taking, and we're just experiencing something different. And actually the idea a little bit came from me. I was like, guys, it does not work with me calling someone else, just take it and let's see how it goes. It might be my fault or not. So it's more about me losing my confidence on what I'm leading and how I think we should be playing than someone being mad or losing or something like that. It's more about trying something different to see how it goes. But in the long run, it always come back to me because it's not cool to be in game leader. And when I get back to myself as a leader and I do the things I have to do, it's great for the team. People like it. So Code had some experience doing that. We kind of discovered one or two things from his leading style that kind of helped me as well in the long term. And not going to say they're here, but there are some styles he was applying that was working and I really liked it. But others, it wasn't working. So came back to the way I was doing it. And of course, you want to have coldzera playing his best without having to think too much about strategies, even though he's a very appliant person, appliant personality in terms of helping calling as well. Like when he has a good idea, he would say it. And when yesterday, for example, we're trying to check some international teams here playing other games, other tournament matches, trying to find some interesting stuff, and he's there helping me. So he's always been a big part of the way I call and the way we organize the team. That when he goes calling, it's not that really changed much. It's just the person giving the orders, to be honest, because we have the same play style, we have the same way to approach the game. But it wasn't like we are fighting or something like that. It was more about desperation, to be honest. There's nothing is working, so let's try something different. For fuck's sake, like how can we be losing? Just probably pointing out the wrong reason, and mostly because I wasn't doing my job properly as well, like in terms of giving faith on what I was doing.
Okay. Right. What about this then? So every time I've ever talked to coldzera, he's someone where like he seems like he has the mentality that like every game could have been won. You could do something differently, or if you didn't make this mistake, it's possible to win. And if you listen to it, it's like a very admirable way to think about the game. I like it as like a mentality. But I also got the sense from him though that like some of this could also be expressed as like frustration. Like if the team's doing really badly, I have to say even when SK and MIBR was doing badly, he was usually doing pretty well still. So when people heard these rumors, maybe he'll go to a different team. He had offer from FaZe Clan, Team Liquid. When people hear these rumors, is there ever a thing that goes on with coldzera where it's like hard to keep him patient while the rest of the team's coming back? Because I mean, he's often individually very good, right?
I think the only time he really thought about leaving is on this last drama we had here. That we really thought he could create a new team with other people, but that just lasts for a couple of days, and he realized he just can't go anywhere right now, and he decided to give us back a shot. Like in terms of his own motivation and stuff like that, it was hard to deal with because you have been playing with the guy for so long that when he wants to leave, it kind of hurts your ego as well. Like, oh, what the fuck? Now he doesn't want to play with you anymore. But in the end, it's all professional. We have to know that, and if he's not pleased with something, he has his own rights to choose something else, and it's up to us to be at the same task. But it was hard for me and Fer to do with it as well. Like, all right, so he doesn't want to play with us anymore. Fucking, like, what the fuck? This is normal. It's just normal human feelings. And once we start talking about it and you see, hey, guys, we did so much together, right? What the fuck are we doing? And then you can get back to the same page again. But it was tough. But that was the only time he really thought about leaving. Besides that, we have always been a very compact team. Like, nothing really even close to that.
Okay. Right, as like a last question or topic to just address. So you always joke. I've noticed you doing the Taz move now, which is if you're having a bad game, what you do is you just say like, well, I am old, I'm not that good. These young guys, they all practice the game so much. It's like a good way to like play off the fact if you're not having a great game. But like, it was only, whatever, a year ago that you were still a very good individual player and that you were still in one of the best teams, right? Are you someone having played so many years in Counter-Strike? If you could, are you going to play 5 more years? If MIBR now, if MIBR could be good enough and they still want you and you're still a good player, would you play 5 more years? Are we starting to get towards the end of FalleN's playing career? Do you see kind of the horizon at all?
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I play myself to be playing at least 3 more years, like 2 years and a half at least. And that's up if I'm playing well for those time. If I start playing too badly for the next 1.5 years, for example, I might leave early. Or if I'm playing too well and the team is doing great in 2.5 years, why would I leave, right? So it's up to what's going to be on the scene and how well we're going to be doing. But I have other stuff I want to do after finishing playing. Of course, it's going to be gaming related. I have all those projects in Brazil going on, my brand, my products, and I wanna make esports in Brazil something bigger in terms of the main audience. I want to connect esports more towards education. I think after giving classes for people since 2011, I feel like gaming can help people develop so many aspects in their lives that they're going to use in the whole life, communication-wise speaking, dealing with different egos, making sure you're organizing yourself and your teammates to do proper scheduling, make sure we're reacting fast under situations. And I think all those things, they kind of are applicable in a work atmosphere in their lives, even if they're not gaming, right? And I think mainly the society doesn't see gaming that way yet. And I think there's a lot of work to be done in terms of showing people that gaming can change lives in a good way. And after I finish playing, I really want to be that guy pushing game towards educational stuff and making sure younger people are going to play games. That's for sure. Everyone agrees that nowadays. The game is part of younger people's life and even older people nowadays. And that's going to get bigger and bigger in the future. So we need to make sure that we can make people want to study and at the same time use gaming as a way to influence people to study more, like connect both things. So I want to be part of that in Brazil. I have some projects going on around the area, and for sure I'm going to be able to do more and more once I stop being a professional player, because I'm going to have more time to invest into that.
Okay. At the end of the interview, do you have like a final message for people or someone you want to thank or say hello to?
Well, just going to tell the people, keep blaming Torin on the social media, guys. Keep doing the awesome work you guys have always been doing.
Exactly.
Torin, you are a jerkhead as well. Sometimes what's the word in English? When you're baiting people hard, Torin. You know that. Sometimes you're baiting people hard.
I like to have fun,
I have fun with it too, but that's how it goes. Just kidding, but thank you for the space. Hope you guys had fun listening to all those things. And in the end, you did help me a little bit thinking about all those stuff that happened in the past. Some stuff should be changed here. Some stuff should be changed here. And also, thanks everyone for continually following our team, doing all those paths. Hope we make you guys even more proud in the next tournaments. And you guys should know that we're working hard to get back on track as much as we can. This is a team that plays for winning. We are always working to be the best, doesn't matter what. So thank you guys for following us through all those times, and good times and bad times, I'd say.
Obrigado.
Obrigado. Thank you very much.
This video was kindly supported by Dean Tanglis, Andreas Snazol Westerland, Gardner Wilson, Ollie J, Tobias Bernasconi, Nate DOGG, James Harding, Kyla Harris, Travis Greb, Daniel Yordanov, Tristan Jones, and a special thanks goes out to Jerky's Minion. Do you want to suggest a topic or a guest for upcoming content of mine? Perhaps you'd like to ask me a question for my monthly video AMA. Do you want some teasers to see who the next guests are for my talk shows, for my interviews? Maybe you'd like to take part in a monthly esports discussion with yours truly. Well, put your money where your mouth is at the Patreon link in the description box below and join the Scrilluminati today.